Hi, I'm Tony Armour, Film Commissioner for St. Petersburg-Clearwater, Florida, and welcome to the St. Pete-Clearwater Film Commission podcast. Lisa Dslr, our Film Commission Manager, is just kind of relaxing on the couch today, hanging out here on set and enjoying herself and participating in the show. So we've got a really cool show for you today. We have Johnny Vitale, who is a St. Pete-based artist and filmmaker, to talk about his project, Mini Lights, coming up. Jacob Pierce at the Visit St. Pete-Clearwater office is going to do an unboxing segment, and we've got a new little segment that we want you to check out as well and see what you think about that. So, and if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, give us some comments in the comment section. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, because we're always up for changing this and making it a little bit better if we can. So right now, we'd like to bring John Vitale down to the set and have him join us.
How's it going?
How you doing?
How are you?
Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for letting me use your restroom up there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We keep it upstairs. The downstairs one's under repair, you know.
Well,
so.
Put the toilet seat down?
I did, and I sprayed a little something in there too.
That's perfect.
Nice to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
So this is the St. Pete-Clearwater Film Commission podcast. I think this is podcast number 10 that we're doing here, and a little bit about what we do every week. We kind of give some highlights of what's happening in the St. Pete-Clearwater area, talk a little bit of entertainment news, and hopefully, you know, people enjoy watching this little show, and you know, if not, it's out there and we enjoy making it. So
cool.
At least that counts for something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you do like this show at all, though, be sure to like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends, because we want to get this out there and have other people enjoy it as much as you do. But today we just kind of jump right in and talk to Johnny Fatali, who is a local artist and filmmaker here in St. Petersburg. So I won't talk too much about you. Why don't you talk about you and tell us who you are and what you're doing?
Okay, Tony. Well, my name is John Vitale, and I'm one-third of a company called the Vitale Brothers, which is conveniently named after us. And we are mural painters. My brother Joey doesn't quite work with the company anymore, but my brother and I, Paul, we have a couple of other guys that work with us. We do mural work and sign work and designing of restaurants and clubs and stuff like that. And that's what we've been doing for the past 20 years or something like that.
A while now.
Maybe more, yeah.
Yeah.
Time flies.
And I think what a lot of people may not realize is, one, you know, St. Petersburg has a huge art scene. And part of that big art scene now is the murals. There's over 50 murals around downtown St. Pete, right?
Yeah, and you know, we started off doing murals back when really it didn't seem like there were too many people doing them. We learned our craft from watching other guys that we would see, like maybe coming through town. There was a guy that actually painted the water tower in St. Petersburg. His name was Tom Stovall, and he painted that tower, and he also did this fish on Bob Lee's tires that we were like, wow, that's incredible. And that's where we kind of got inspiration from. He's like the generation before us. But there weren't too many people that did that in town. I think the shrimp store on 4th Street was another one. Yeah. But we got into it, and our whole career was based on us doing commercial work for murals. It wasn't like it is today. Now there's mural festivals in almost every major town, and they have like artists. They'll import artists from other parts of the world, and everybody kind of does their own thing, and that's what's kind of refreshing about. We respect that because for so long we've just been doing things that businesses wanted to promote their business and stuff like that, and I mean, which is cool. I mean, we've become versatile because of it. We can paint anything, you know. But we also like seeing people do their style and carry on. You know, they go to the next town and keep doing their own thing.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really great for the city. You know, it adds a completely different look and feel to it. You know,
That's
you drive around now and it's like, you know, crazy.
It's like a playground now. It's like rather than just a boring old city.
No, it just gives it a unique flavor, and each city gets to have its own unique flavor and personality depending on you know, the murals and the artists and the look and everything. So
so
what?
People something to do too, because there's
mural tours, and it's just backdrops. It's good for the film community, you know. It gives it, but like you said, a personality, and each city that does this has a kind of a unique look all on its own.
Yeah. So you know, let's kind of talk about that. Talking about, you know, each city having its own unique look and feel and filmmaking, and that's what we're here to talk to you about today. Is you actually have a film project that you are putting together.
That's right. So over the years, being the artist that we were, we've been involved with a few projects that date back to, I think even you and I crossed paths on some of these.
Yep,
Yep,
10, 15 years ago, a few projects, yeah.
I played around with working as like an art director on a few films coming through town, just by default because it's a small town. It's not a huge film community, but if you're somebody that can do something, then you more than likely get called to do something.
Right.
And so we worked as art directors on a few films, and that's when I realized that I've always wanted to do something with film, but I realized that I enjoyed the environment and setting up for a film to get, and watching professional productions being made and hanging out with the stars and stuff. It was really cool. It was a good experience, and so I would say within the last 10 years I kind of started getting more involved with that. Anyway, and remember when the economy kind of dipped for a while?
That little thing where everybody didn't have any money?
Yeah, everybody was like, what am I going to do now?
How do I find somewhere to live? And
yeah,
what am I going to do?
The mural business suffered immensely. And,
really, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, and then so I was like, well, we got to get into something else, and I wanted to do something creative, so I ended up going back to school for video production and at JC.
Yeah.
And I just learned as much as I could with that, and I took it to the point of where I got back into a computer class, and everybody in my class was just saying, the guy was teaching how to do programming, and I was like, this is part of the production. I mean, this is part of the degree. Right. And I was like, if I don't get through this, long story short, I didn't get through it. I was like, I couldn't keep up with these kids. I mean, these screen time wizards. I couldn't do it. I was like, this is passing me up. But anyway, what I did is I ended up doing these little commercials for local businesses, these just little vignettes of something to promote stuff that people that didn't have enough money to really pay for a huge production. So I would do these little things just with my video camera and my cousin Bruce, and we would do like businesses, for example, like Tropical Scooters. We did something for them, and just did fun things with like green screen, anything that I learned in the class. Right. I applied it towards that kind of thing. Luckily, the economy got better, and I got back into doing my regular business because I wasn't making any money doing these other things. But I did apply it. I applied my education towards that, and it was fun, and I had fun doing it. And so I ended up doing right after I dropped out of film school, I decided to do a short film called Ignition. Yeah. And
yes, it played at the Sunscreen Film Festival back a few years ago.
Yeah, and I went through it with the mindset that I know what I know, and I'm not gonna ask too many questions, because if I do, it's gonna stop me from going forward. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't care how bad it is. I'm not gonna stress about all these other things. I just want to make it happen. And I used my resources from being involved in the art scene. And I didn't know if you knew that or not. We used to throw a lot of art shows and stuff like that, these multimedia events and stuff. And so I called on some friends. Frank Strunk was one of them, to be like this. He's a metal artist, but he also was a metal fashion designer. And so we came up with this idea to make kind of like the idea was going to be like a fashion show in 10 minutes, but have a little plot to it. So it could be all his stylish outfits that he makes and stuff, and just some kind of futuristic, weird thing.
Little Mad Max.
Mad Max. I mean, it definitely ended up going that direction. Yeah. But as I got into it, I was like, I want to make like just a really bad B movie, and in that way it could be bad. And I was like, well, that's what I wanted it to look like. You know what I mean? Exactly. And so we had recruited all kinds of people that were involved, like wanted to be involved. We got a car club involved, and the Berghounds, and they had all these rust buckets, and then so we said it was like a apocalyptic. Wait, am I saying that right? Post-apocalyptic story about St. Petersburg if the Russian missile crisis actually did happen. Right. And that would be the time set. And it's like now you have all these Mad Max characters living in St. Pete. Right. And zombies and whatever. So we just went as far as we could with it.
It was fun. It was a fun, I remember it. It was a fun short. And you guys had a great turnout. Everybody came out to watch and really enjoyed it.
And then then I took note after I was done. I was like, wow, it could have been nice if we had people mic'd up. You know what I mean? Like that, these kinds of things, or if we really paid attention to the sound quality. Yeah. But I didn't care, and I knew I was going to come out of it thinking, yeah, these are the things I could have done different. But we were proud of it. You know, it was a real cool community film effort.
Well, the nice thing is, you know, being an artist and being involved with a lot of artists and sort of that whole culture or counterculture, whatever you want to call it, you know, you get all these creative people together, and even though maybe everybody doesn't know 100% what they're doing, it ends up visually being really cool and really interesting and really fun just because of the artistic sensibilities of everybody that's involved with the project.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to meet this young camera guy at the time. His name was Javier Fick, and he had a real good eye for I loved his style of how he made things look. I mean, he would focus in on you know little foreground elements that I would never even think about, you know, like when we were doing some of the scenes, and he had just like a really good style to it, and then Ryan Zara did all the coloring on it, and it gave it a vintage look, and I was just like, man, everybody's just doing their part, and that's where I learned that it's a community. It's all film projects are a community, even if they're assembled.
Yeah. It
takes all these talents to make a film, and so if you just let everybody do their thing, and kind of
that's why you bring people together that know what they're doing. And
yeah.
It's like, maybe I don't know something, but that guy sure knows what he's doing. So
that's right. And I've been in my past like such a control freak about certain things, and now I'm learning, especially with this project that we're working on right now, that it's nice to back off and just be like,
Well, let's talk a little bit about the project you are working on right now. So before you intro the project exactly what it is too, you know, what's really interesting is there is something called the Hometown Heroes campaign. So Seed and Spark, as you know, and to let our audience know, Seed and Spark is a crowdfunding platform like a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, but it's 100% for independent film only, which is kind of a unique, you know, take on the whole thing, because obviously Indiegogo, Kickstarter, you can go wide and do whatever you want to do, and they're running this contest called Hometown Heroes, where they're getting people within communities around the country to essentially put these projects together that are going to be pitched to the Duplass brothers.
That's right.
And you know, the winning project will essentially be executive produced by the Duplass brothers, which could be huge. And so your project right now is one of those films that has kind of come into, I suppose we'll call it the semifinals.
Yeah.
And is in the running. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that project?
Okay. So our and our involvement with this contest, it came just at the right time, because we had already thought about doing this this hometown story, which is based out of St. Petersburg, and
it's called
The Mini Lights. And so how we got into this is my brother and I, Paul, we were traveling through Virginia and driving. We were doing a mural project up there, and we went down a road, Sleepy Hollow, and I was like, I wonder if this is where it is, because we're up there, it's kind of witchy up there and stuff, you know, and I'm like, you know, that area. And I was like, I wonder if this is where, and so we were doing like Googling research and stuff on it, and it turns out it was somewhere else. It actually started in New York, you know, and then so, but, you know, they just took the name for the street or whatever. But the whole point was, as we got into it, I was like, it's funny, like you could just, the story started there, but then the guy that wrote it put it somewhere else. And I was like, so, you know, you can just start with a little seed of a story, and then you can kind of manipulate it a little bit to make the official story once it's told or written, or, you know, so, and we had...
that's history in general, right?
That's history in general. It really is. I mean, learn that. It's happening daily, you know. But we were aware of a story from our hometown called The Mini Lights that I first heard about it from my first wife, Alicia. She was like, you never heard about the Mini Lights? I was like, no. She went to Boca Ciega High School, and she's like, well, it's like a South Side legend, and those people know what it is. It's that they're very scared of the Mini Lights, and I was like, well, I mean, what is it? And they're like, there are these little lights that chase you or something. And I was like, and that's when I first heard it, and then I decided to just put that out of my head for years and years, and then I found out about, I think I was talking to my brother's friends one time, like later on in history, and they like swore that these were like these little people that would come out with bats and mallets, and if you trespass on the certain area in Roser Park, they would come out and beat you like senseless to death. Yeah, it was these little, and so this was a legend that was that we find out later was told to kids that lived in that area that if you stay out past a certain hour, or if you're going in this area that you're not supposed to go to, you better get home because the mini lights will get you. So it's
it's a little boogeyman story to keep kids under control.
Absolutely, and it didn't matter what culture around there. It was like everybody knew about the mini lights.
Right.
So, so this was like a cool premise for a story to us. So we started talking about it and kind of writing the story in our heads. Neither of us are writers, and so we started formulating this story, like what would bring somebody here and why would they. So we've gone through a couple of twists with the actual script. It's still not written 100%.
Yeah.
But we decided to, as soon as I got back into town, from our trip, I called up my buddy Rocco, who owns a pizza place called Little Italy, and he was
Rocco owns a pizza place
called
named
Little Italy. Yeah.
Okay.
His name's Rocco for real.
Of course it is.
Rocco Spinelli. But he, as a matter of fact, I have more than one pizza place involved in this project. Because we paint stuff for all these places, so that's how we all became friends.
Is that the secret to independent filmmaking in St. Pete, is get pizza places to sponsor your
projects? You got to be Italian.
Right.
No, just kidding. So, but everybody, they want to break out of whatever they're in, you know what I mean? So they're like, he'd like to, everyone wants to, be a producer or whatever. Johnny at Gianni's Pizza, who's a friend of Rocco's, he would like to be an actor. So,
of course.
So we're going to write a little special part for him.
You have to. You've got to
get murdered.
If
Rocco wants him murdered because he's another pizza place. But I'm like, okay, we'll work this out. We'll work this out in the script.
Somebody's going to kill somebody.
Somebody's gonna
dueling pizza. There's your next movie.
Yeah.
Is the
Pizza Wars.
Pizza Wars.
Yeah, or a reality show. Yeah, but it's funny. It's like it's a class. It's its own story, the making of, But I told Rocco about our idea for the movie because he helped us with catering the Ignition project.
Yeah.
So he was kind of a producer then, but just with food,
Right.
And by the way, the Ignition movie cost $700 to make. So that was that. And
if you had to pay everybody that worked on it, it'd be considerably more.
I don't want to do that.
You don't want to
tally that up.
Don't do that math.
No.
It'll scare you.
So I talked to Rocco.
You've got your pizza producers.
You've got pizza producers. Talked to Rocco. I said, hey, I got this great idea for a movie, but what I got to do is make a proof of concept trailer. I was like, because I've heard that that's what kind of people are doing. Even if they're just splicing together other films, it's like you want to do like a visual stimulation because that's how the world is today,
Yeah, and you're 100% right. That is what filmmakers are doing now. They're doing short films as proof of concept or just straight up trailers to show people what the project is.
And then I watched and I saw like the Coen brothers. I was doing research and I saw like the Coen brothers' initial proof of concept trailer, and I noticed that I was like, man, that's what got them started. And it was not to say it was bad, but it wasn't like overly impressive, but it was intense. And I forgot which movie it was. It was a Coen brothers Bloodsport, or do you know which one movie I'm talking about? It's like their first film that they ever did, but it was like
we could throw it out to our audience. Anybody know Coen Brothers
Blood
first project that
something
they did a
Blood
proof of concept for?
I'll give you the right answer in post-production.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, it'll come on screen in post-production. Bleep.
Yeah,
it's gonna pop right up, right there. There it is.
But it's their proof of concept, and it was inspiring. And then I watched this other one, which is Game of Thrones, how he got that, and that was splicing together all these other movies.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and they just did a voiceover.
Right.
And I was like, man, these are good. I was like, but I want to one-up this and just make a short. You know what I mean? I want to make it like here we made the movie, and then like these are just parts of the movie, and we spliced them together and made this trailer. So that was my concept. It cost us we spent a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
But I
more than you spent on Ignition.
Yes, 5 times as much. So, and pizza, yeah, we still had to do the pizza thing. As far as food goes, but anyway, we put it together and we put it out there, and this was just maybe a couple of weeks before we found out about the Hometown Heroes.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the Ignition, or I'm sorry, not the Ignition, but the Mini Lights trailer when it came out.
Yeah.
And because we had permitted it earlier in the year when you guys were shooting Roser Park and stuff like that, and I called you. I was like, "What is this? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with this?
Yeah.
What can we do?"
Yeah. It was fantastic, and you alerted me of the Hometown Heroes thing, right?
Yeah.
And I was asking you.
And Jacob in our office may have said something to you about it as well, or
somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, but you guys.
But I talked to you about it.
And then I was like, I had already started a campaign. Well, here's what happened is we got it going, and the news picked it up like immediately, and it was on like 2 different channels like right away, and because it was a cool story. The Times also did a story before I was going to do it.
Right.
They did a little story about it. But anyway, like people were genuinely interested in it, and I was like, man, we got something good here, you know. And every town wants their story told. So here comes Hometown Heroes, and it just made perfect sense to get the trailer out to them. And so once my first crowdfunding campaign ended, which I didn't know how to do, I joined with Seed and Spark, and they have like a very thorough.
So good.
Really, where the girls teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
The
videos on amazing.
Yeah, and they direct you through the whole thing, and we've had a really good time working with those guys. They really know their thing, and they have like this whole Netflix kind of model next to it. So they actually will kind of put your movie on their site, and people can pay to see it. And so it's a good way to get the movie out too.
Right.
So
not just the one theater. It can even give you a little self-distribution platform for putting it out. Yeah, so no, they're really. I love what they do with that.
Yeah.
With Seed and Spark.
So really cool. We've had a good experience with them. So.
Yeah, good. Well, give us a little update. Where are you at right now?
Okay, so right now with the film, which is a horror film, by the way. I don't know if we've explained that.
I don't think we mentioned it. I think the little people who beat you.
Oh
to
yeah,
death
that's pretty horrible.
Gives you
yeah,
a
that's
little,
horrible. Like we need more horror in the world.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, it's a great story. It's still being written, but I got this through Javier. He had this young writer, Felipe Bergstrom. He's started writing our script for us, and he's very hungry, and he's like 23 or whatever, and he's got some great ideas. And what happened was I started writing it, and I was doing these like cliche kind of horror film stories, and I was like, oh, it's the film crew that comes to do a ghost show or something. And he was like, no, don't do that. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And I just started listening to younger people, and I was like, okay, you're right. That could go wrong. You know, that could be just like same old. And then so I remembered my brother said, you know, by Booker Creek in the Roser Park area, they're building this $1 million skateboard facility right now. They just broke ground. I was like, what? My brother told me, Paul. He goes, what if they were uncovering some kind of thing that they dug up that had like mini lightning, which is this voodoo priestess. She's involved in this thing. Anyway, like they dug up some kind of thing, and that's what started it. And I was like, yeah. And I suppressed that, but then I brought it up to Felipe, and he was like, oh my gosh, that sounds really cool. Like you can have like skateboarders, and it could be like this Stranger Things kind of thing, but maybe a little older kids, but
skater punk Stranger Things.
Skater kids that hide under the bridges of because they literally do skateboard under the bridges at Roser Park.
Yeah.
So like this is what they're doing while that skateboard park is being built or whatever. And so we added that element, and instantly, like, some people were like, "What?" And I was like, and some people were like, "That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
that could be
cool."
It
just clicks with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, because they were used to seeing the original trailer that we did, where it was this young, like victim kind of scenario, but there wasn't. To me, there just wasn't enough story there.
Sure.
It would just be one.
You have to give it a little bit of a hook. It's a one-note film. You want to give it a little more something to it.
And so this is something that we've never heard of, and we did a little research and we couldn't find anything. There hasn't been a skateboarder horror film yet. So
that's cool. That's good.
And it's very current to what's going on with St. Petersburg right now. There's this old school legend, and there's a brand new skate park being built, and our story is just somewhere in between all that.
Cool. And so as far as the Hometown Heroes campaign is going, how much time is left on that?
Okay,
when does it end? Just give me the date when it ends.
We have 10 days left.
Yeah. It ends, what date does it end? Because it depends when this is going to, when we put this out.
Well, what's funny is that it's not funny. This is actually horrible. What happened is it started on the day that the hurricane hit Florida.
Oh, wow.
So we were all prepped up and ready to launch, but I did it from my phone at a rest stop with like 1 million people at it. And I was like, I launched my campaign there. And when we finally got up, we drove up to Tennessee. I got my family out of here because I have a 3-year-old, Jack. And we went up with my family to my girl's, her family. And that was the day that it started. So it was like this really dramatic start to saving our lives and
Yeah.
also starting a crowdfunding campaign. And I was like, wow, this is weird timing, because people that survived the hurricane, are they going to want to give any
Sure.
money, first of all? And then, but it turns out, like in St. Pete, it was maybe just one of the things that they needed to feel normal again.
Yeah.
People were still out without power, but they had their
Right.
phones, and like, here's a little sense of normalcy. This is like our town's still going.
Yeah.
I remember this campaign, like I remember John talking about this online. So I mean, that's what I'm assuming, because the response was still as good as everybody else.
Yeah, no, so yeah, as far as the campaign goes, there's a bunch of films on the,
There's like 76.
yeah, like 70 films,
70, yeah.
and Mini Lights is in the top 5.
Well, we held strong for about a week and a half
Yeah.
at number 1.
Yeah.
But I think Lost Bayou is coming up strong, and there's a couple of other ones that are gaining on us, and
Yeah.
I think they're figuring out certain
Sure,
ways to
they're
do it.
probably finding their audience and getting
Yeah.
a little more. And I think, and part of this works too, is it was to take the top 10 projects.
Well, it does. It takes the top 10 that are, excuse me, it takes the top 10, and then of the top 10, it chooses 5.
Right.
And then of the 5, we all have a chance to pitch a 30-second pitch to the Duplass
Yeah.
brothers.
So hopefully you get to.
We're
be
going
in
to be
that top
number 1.
5.
We're going to be number 1 just out of principle. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a strategy, actually.
Sure.
Because if you're number 1, then obviously we want it the best.
You want to get that pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we have the Shine Festival coming up,
Yeah.
the Mural Festival, to gather signatures from. We have Rocco's 45th Little Italy anniversary, which is coming up conveniently. He's
The power of pizza, man.
He's got 4,000 people sometimes that have responded on that.
Nice.
He ordered he gives out these T-shirts, right? And but they all stand in line, and it's like, well, you like Rocco's Pizza? Well, he's a producer, so give me your email. You know what I mean? So we're going to just go down the line.
That's
So I think-
awesome.
yeah. So we shouldn't let the hometown heroes know that yet.
You look
That's
at
a
the-
strategy.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding.
That's okay.
That's all
No,
right.
but it's awesome.
It's
so
fine.
so when you do get to that point,
Yeah.
where because we're going to be positive here, that
Okay, yeah.
when you get to the point where you get to pitch the Duplass brothers,
Yes.
is there any, has Seed and Spark given you kind of any indication what your pitch needs to be, or is it
No,
just
they
like,
did with the
Yeah.
original campaign when we were pitching to our friends and followers or
Mhm.
whatever like that. That they did kind of craft that to make most sense for their site and
Yeah.
for ours. And we learned a lot through it. And then the incentives and that we would offer, they should be original and not just your typical whatever. It's like as far as you see in crowdfunding sites. So they really taught us a lot. But when we get that chance, we're writing it now, and it's only 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So we got to really get it out
tight.
there. I think we'll do something where we kind of show all the people that are involved really quickly,
Mhm.
and then make our point, a strong point.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to write it.
Sure. Well, and I hope you guys really rock this thing out. I mean, because obviously this is St. Pete based. This is what we want to
Yeah.
see. And one of the things that maybe we could let our audience know as well is that we, as the St. Pete-Clearwater Film Commission, are actually, I think, one of only 7 film commissions in the country that are partners on this particular campaign.
Yes.
And
yeah.
on top of that, those other 6 film commissions are state film commissions. We are the only regional film commission in the entire country
that's fantastic.
participating like this in
Oh, that makes
campaign.
sense. Then.
So,
That's good. Well,
you know,
I'll work together on
yeah,
that.
that's the plan. We want you to
Yeah.
succeed so we
Yeah.
can help, because part
Yeah.
of what we're offering then is a marketing grant that our office will give on top of, whatever you get crowdfunding wise, you can get Duplass Brothers. So
Yeah.
we want it to be
Well,
successful
it's our goal that we were trying to get is it's surpassed. So,
yeah, you beat your goal, and so
yeah.
now it's about keeping that follower number up and
Yes.
really rocking it.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. We're looking
Well, great.
for
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
Lisa. Did you have a question you wanted to pop in? No. Oh, okay. I was gonna say thanks for joining us today. That kind of ends our interview segment, but we do have a fun little thing, new little thing we're doing here with the podcast.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to take a sip of
yeah,
my
take a sip of water.
coffee.
I'm going to pull up my list. We've got a new little segment on the podcast here that we're getting our guests involved in that we want you to take part of. And it's interesting. So what we're going to do every week is we are actually going to select an actor or a celebrity or a director, some sort of personality. We'll show you who that is in a minute here.
Okay.
And when we were talking about your film in particular, it's something meets something. It's, you know, Skater, Stranger Things, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's kind of always been this pitch in Hollywood. It's such and such meets such and such. So I'm going to give you this, in this case it's an actor. I'm going to give you his face.
Okay.
And I'll participate as well, so you don't feel left out. Maybe I'll start so you can kind of get a sense
Okay.
for what this is going to be.
Sounds good.
We're going to give you a mashup of a couple of films, and then you got 30 seconds to, like this particular actor, tell us what that film would be.
Okay.
So today we're doing Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold.
So good old Arnold.
Arnold.
And so I'll give you a little example here. So we've got Terminator meets Little Miss Sunshine. Okay?
Okay. Little Miss Sunshine.
Terminator
is-
meets Little Miss Sunshine,
Okay,
which
that's
was
the one
the
that-
pageant movie with the little girl.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you a little example. So this is the Terminator meets Little Miss Sunshine. So there's this little girl in the future, and she comes back in time to win a talent pageant competition because she lost. And now that she comes back in time to win this pageant competition, she figures that the only way that she can really win this competition is if she kills all of the other little girls involved. So it's called Little Miss Terminator. What do you think about that, Johnny?
I like that.
All right.
There's no way I'm going to top
All
that.
right, so I'll give you a different one. I'll give you a different one. So how about, did you ever see the Schwarzenegger film True Lies?
Yeah.
Him and
he's a
Jamie Lee
spy,
Curtis with the spy
couple.
movie, Spy Couple and everything. Yeah. So what about True Lies meets Pretty in Pink?
Okay. Oh man.
True Lies meets Pretty in Pink, right? So you're familiar with Pretty in Pink, of course.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
80s classic, you know,
Okay,
John Huston
True
teen
Lies,
film.
Miss Pretty in Pink.
True Lies. meets
Okay.
Pretty in
Yeah.
Pink.
Yeah.
You got it.
All right. So this is a movie that takes place in the 80s where this fashionable lady and her silly friend decide to be spies instead of fashionistas, and they go out and they kill their competition. I don't know.
No, that was great. That was great.
Yeah. Terrible.
Lisa, you want to get in on the game here? You sure? I got one left here.
You're
I
so
got,
good at
I
that.
got one left.
I don't even know.
You want me to try this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
All right. Okay.
You're doing good with that.
How about Conan meets Free Willy?
Yeah, I like that.
Free Willy, you know,
Yes.
with the little kid and the killer whale and everything. So Conan meets Free Willy. Okay, let's see what we can do here. So it's Conan the Barbarian, and Free Willy is this giant killer whale. Well, there's no better killer in the world than Conan. No whale can have the name Killer Whale. It really should be Killer Conan. So Conan has to go out, and he goes to the aquarium, and it's a duel to the death with these killer whale, because he's no longer going to be a killer whale. He'll be a dead whale. Conan meets Free Willy. I don't know a name yet, but that's the movie. And you know who wins, of course. I do, Arnold. Arnold always wins. No killer whale can beat me.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. Conan meets
Yay.
Free Willy.
That's good.
So if you guys if you like this segment, send us some ideas. Why don't you send us some actors, directors' names that you want to see us do? Send us the mashups. Why don't you come up with the ideas? So put it in the comments on the video here, or send us an email, info@filmspc.com, and we'll use your idea for the next podcast.
Sounds
So
good.
again, Johnny, thank you so much
No
for
problem. No,
for
it's
coming.
been a pleasure.
We certainly appreciate it.
You have a lovely home, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. You enjoyed
fantastic.
the upstairs?
Yeah, I was got a
You had to
little
go
lost
upstairs
up
to use the
there.
bathroom,
Yeah, I
you
used
know,
the
yeah.
bathroom, but then someone said coffee.
Absolutely.
It was a whole thing.
So coming up next, we have our unboxing segment. Jacob Pierce from Visit St. Pete-Clearwater is going to do a little unboxing segment and show you a little bit of new technology, or a little something new for your cameras or whatever you might want to do there. So let's bring Jacob onto the set here, coming from the upstairs where everybody hangs out. This is our split level home here at the Film Commission. House is built on a
Hello.
hill,
It's pretty nice up there.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it.
absolutely.
I like this house.
Welcome to the
It's pretty
show
sweet.
We work
Thank
hard
you.
again.
on it.
Well, what do you got for us today?
So today we have
Show us something good.
the Sea to Summit dry bag. So we have a dry bag here that you can put equipment in, and you can basically keep it dry. So here in St. Pete-Clearwater, we have a lot of water all around us. We have a lot of people boating, and so you're on the ocean or in the Gulf, and you are near the sand a lot. So it's nice to have something to keep your equipment protected in. So
And it rains a lot here too.
right.
You get these little things every fall, late summer. What are they called again?
Showers.
Hurricanes.
Oh,
That's actually what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Occasionally get some of those.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of rain. So why don't you show us how this thing works?
Yeah, so basically what we have here is a nylon bag. It's very durable. So basically it's I can't remember exactly the type of fiber, but it's like 600D, which stands for something that I'm not exactly entirely positive.
Yeah,
as
and
to what it
it's
means,
like a
but
heavy rubber nylon
Right.
kind of
right.
feel to it.
Yeah, it's a really heavy feel to it. So it's basically as long as it doesn't have a lot of abrasion to it, like it's not sitting up against something like getting rubbed on, you're gonna be able to, or anything penetrating it, it's gonna stay dry.
And it looks like it's pretty big. Can you open it up there and kind of show us the volume of?
Yeah. So this gives you kind of an idea of how big it is. This one's actually one of their smaller sized bags. So they go up from 35 liters to 120. And actually this one was, I believe that this size has been, not recalled, but
Discontinued?
Yeah, discontinued.
Yeah.
They're no longer producing this size. So there are a lot of other brands out there though that produce different sizes. So
You can fit a DSLR, lenses, audio equipment, whatever other kind of stuff in there. It looks pretty big.
yeah, you can fit whatever you would need in here, and you're going to be able to basically fit it in, and then you just take the seal here, fold it 3 times. Once you have your item in here, and then you just take it and clip it, and then that protects any water from getting inside of here. And I mean, it's already completely sealed.
Completely waterproof and
Yeah.
sealed. And it kind of gives you a little bit of a handle then, like
Yeah.
right there too. You can
Right.
carry your stuff around. And so I could see where you might want a little bigger one,
Right.
because this is kind of big enough for, like I said, a DSLR and maybe some lenses and stuff.
Right.
But you get a little bigger one.
Right.
And
This is
y- and-
probably enough to fit one.
Yeah, and you could
Versus
drop
another.
this overboard of your boat into the water. As long as it wasn't too deep, you can retrieve it or
Yeah.
whatever else to keep it dry.
Yeah, so we got this for us just in case we ever needed to do something like that. But I also had a friend reach out to me, and he was saying that he wanted to do a shoot on an island. And so we were going to ride a boat and then swim from the boat to the shore.
Right.
And so I'm like, we need to get a dry bag.
Sure.
So I actually bought one that's like 50 liters or 35 liters, I
Mhm.
can't remember, but it's huge. It's much bigger than this, and I wasn't expecting it to be as big. So that's definitely one thing you want to look out for, is make note of what size you want and actually go find out what size that is before you just go buy one of these.
Yeah.
Because it might
Well,
be bigger
and
than.
cell phones too. So something that's interesting. Like you see a lot of times people down at the beach is they'll kind of dock their boat off of the edge of the shore, and then they want to swim into shore to go to a little beach bar or whatever else. You get yourself a dry bag. I know this isn't film related, and you can throw all your cell phones and your wallets
Yeah.
and everything in there and kind of go in from your boat and keep everything dry and still have all your technology and everything with you without getting all soaked, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it's not film related, it has multiple uses. too.
Yeah.
So if you're going swimming like on a river in a canoe,
Mm-hmm.
or like kayaking or something like that, you could bring this along with you and have so many different things in here. You could have food in here that you're trying to keep dry, or whatever it is that you want to keep dry. So it's definitely a great bag to have. It's lightweight, it's durable, and you might not even, if it's not even going to rain or you're not even near water, you could probably still use one of these bags just in case.
Just for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, just like when we were out on Friday and it was sunny when the night started, and
Yeah.
then a couple hours later it was pouring. So
Yeah,
we
exactly.
It would have been good to have that.
Right, and Marcus from our office, for the most part, whenever we do parades, I remember at Pride Parade, he brought his dry bag with him. So he's like, if it starts raining, just throw all your equipment.
Put all
in
your
the
camera
dry
and
bag.
everything in there, and then
Yeah.
you're good to go. Good.
What are
So-
these? It looks like a belt hoop or something.
Yeah, it looks like
Maybe
what
for
I'm.
easier carrying.
Yeah, I'm guessing that if you were to do something like we said, like we're gonna hop off on a boat, I would tie all these together, tie all our bags together, and just
Yeah.
pull it. So that's what I think this is for, but I'm not exactly
You
sure.
probably do it as kind of a little backpack if you needed
Yeah.
to, or
Yeah.
whatever
I
as well.
also
So
realized too that when I was trying to air this out, that I feel you could push out some of the air through here, but so I mean that's another possibility as to
Sure.
what it could be. So
Cool. Well, thank you for unboxing a giant rubber bag today, basically.
A giant practical.
No, but actually very practical for
Yeah.
any sort of film equipment, camera equipment, or anything else. So Jacob, thank you for stopping in. I think I hear somebody calling you upstairs. You might want to run up there and
Right.
and see what that's all about.
all right, I'll see you guys
All
later.
right, we'll see you later. So next up on the podcast here is the news segment. And Lisa Dslr, our Film Commission manager, has 60 seconds to tell me the news. And if she doesn't give me the news in 60 seconds, we'll have a little surprise for her. And go.
Okay, the 28th annual Tampa International Gay and Lesbian Film Festival is coming to Tampa and St. Pete, October 6th through the 15th. There's going to be screening 43 features and 43 shorts from 23 different countries. You can get tickets and a schedule at ticket.com. And did you know that this season the Amazon Prime Video is going to be streaming 11 NFL games on and the first screening on September 28th reached 1.6 million viewers, and I'm just wondering if the online retailer hopes that viewers are going to do a lot of impulse buying while they watch the games.
I will buy my bratwurst while I'm doing my video on Amazon
We'll see how
Prime.
that turns out. No comments. This is my time.
Sorry.
Is virtual reality coming soon to a mall near you? It's possible now that AMC Entertainment has just partnered up with a VR startup, Dreamscape Immersive. AMC Entertainment actually invested $10 million in the startup company, and the CEO.
That means that your 60 seconds is up. So if you want to see the rest of the news about AMC Entertainment and their VR virtual startup, you're going to have to Google it.
Yeah.
On to the next segment. Again, thanks for joining us on the St. Pete-Clearwater Film Commission podcast. If you like this podcast, be sure to click like, put some comments in the comment section, tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, share this podcast, and we'll see you next time.